Hello again. Today's a twofer. I've already uploaded a video on meditation, and now this is the next one that Spirit would have me do. And as you see in the title, the silent war continues. I'm going to share a few thoughts on the continuing war. We are in a multi-dimensional war. Basically, battle of good and evil, the light versus the dark. The dark does not want planet Earth to ascend. By ascending, planet Earth is outside of the control of the forces. I don't even want what's the phrase I like? The service to self faction. The white wing collective consciousness of nine. That's the phrase they use. So in the future, because that's a mouthful, so in the future, whenever I refer to the nine, that's who I'm talking about. The major channel, at least here on YouTube, the major channel that channels them is Magenta Pixie, and I follow her. I've already suggested that you guys follow her. She's right on top. So anyway, they use the phrase the service to self faction for the dark and the service to others faction for the light. We're all, because you're here, so I say we are all members of the service to others faction. We serve the light, i.e. light workers. But there is a battle going on, and it's a silent battle. In warfare, and that's an aspect of the third and fourth dimension, the lower octaves of the fourth dimension. The third dimension, the lower octaves of the fourth dimension, there is this classic battle of good and evil. And that's why we're right down here in the trenches. So warfare is an aspect of existence here. And there's a Chinese author, hundreds of years old. He wrote this book called The Art of War. And he is right on top of it. And he's speaking from one perspective, me against my enemy, us against them. His work, The Art of War, is so dynamic. Every military academy, every branch academy of the United States military, this is required reading. This book, The Art of War. Donald Trump read that book long before he was recruited to run for president. He wrote it because Donald Trump was aware of the antagonistic nature of the business world, because we all know he was a billionaire businessman. He wrote a book called The Art of the Deal. As opposed to The Art of War, he wrote a book modeled after The Art of War, and he called it The Art of the Deal. It's one of the many reasons why military intelligence. Okay, I'm going to finish this sentence and then I'm going to say something else. One of the many reasons why military intelligence recruited him to run for president. But just within the last half hour, I was putzing around, seasoning some meat for my dinner tonight and let it marinate. And the thought just hit me real clear. He was not only chosen, he was selected by the beings in the higher dimensions, us in the higher dimensions. Because outside the linear timeline, we can see everything, and we knew that Donald Trump was the perfect person to do this job, which is why we, the Galactics, we suggested, who work in concert, in conjunction with the third dimensional planetary alliance, we suggested to the white hats, pick Donald Trump. He's the perfect person. And not only just because of he was a billionaire, could afford his own campaign, because he studied the art of war. He knew the antagonistic nature of warfare in business, and he could apply that to fighting the cabal. But also that his uncle, John Trump, was an MIT physicist who was tasked by the FBI when Nikola Tesla died to go over Nikola Tesla's papers, all his work. And we also know that John Trump, the uncle of Donald J. Trump, was Donald Trump's favorite uncle. So it's just stands to reason here, just in common sense 3D, it stands to reason that they spoke. We from the higher dimensions, us, our future selves, the galactics, we know that they spoke, which is one of the many reasons why he was tapped. And I would say, whether he's aware of it or not, he volunteered for this, just like all the rest of us. It's not like Donald Trump was some weirdo running around out in the bushes and we go, oh, he's a pretty cool dude, we'll use him. No, he's one of us. In his larger self, he's one of us. And that's why in his third dimensional self, this is what he's now doing, just as this is what we're all doing. Just real quick note, you might have noticed that I changed the background. I'm trying to work on getting the lighting right for these videos. I think I'm okay. I saw better in the last video than I'm seeing right now. I could barely see my screen because my blurry vision is really acting up right now. But I know that I'm centered in the screen, so I'm just talking to this blurry vision of myself, this blurry image of myself. But a quick side note, personal note, I went to an ophthalmologist last Wednesday, get a second opinion on my sight condition, glaucoma and yada yada, you all know the drill. I got a second opinion and I didn't tell them much. And I told them I'm not going to tell you much. I just want a second opinion. You guys do your thing and then you tell me what you see. And they did. And turns out it's exactly what I kind of figured. My current, or now I should say my old ophthalmologist, told me that, I didn't have cataracts. Well, this ophthalmologist, he said I have cataracts in both eyes. And he said he's not overly concerned about my right eye because I don't see out of it at all. But he said, yes, we can do surgery on your left eye, but it's kind of, chancy because it's the only eye you have and nothing's guaranteed. But he said, with successful surgery, we can bring clarity to your vision by removing the cataracts. So that's what I'm shooting for. So hopefully in the not too distant future, this blurriness will be gone and I can see a whole lot better. Because it's like, I went to a barbershop a week ago this past Friday for the first time in 30 years because I can't see me in the mirror of the bathroom clear enough to cut my own hair or trim my beard. It's just too blurry. So without screwing it all up. So I went to a barbershop, first time in 30 years I sat in a barber chair. So but and I told the ophthalmologist that too. I said, that's how bad it's getting. But he said, yes, we can fix this. So I'm a happy camper. So, and I'm if the lighting, I would please, if you would, guys, comment and let me know if I've got the lighting better or worse. Make some suggestions. I think it's okay, but I'd like to know, okay, from your perspective, because you guys obviously got a lot clearer vision than I do. So anyway, with that being said, let's get back to the silent war. If you notice, there's a lot of confusion, and that's very purposeful. That's called divide and conquer. We're divided by race, we're divided by religion, we're divided by sex, we're divided by class, we're divided by uh, just pretty much every aspect of our daily existence is being very purposeful by the cabal to divide us because they can control us better. They can keep us confused. They can keep us apart so that we don't collectively figure out what's going on. But they screwed up with the internet. They can't control us all through the internet. Uh, Everything's out there, and it's like immediate interaction. As before, before the internet, it was like nobody could talk to each other. We could only go through the mainstream media, which they control. So, on the higher dimensions, it's a done deal, as I said before. But here in the trenches, we're going through the process. I notice the channels that I follow, just to keep my ear to the ground. Those, as I said before, those that don't actively acknowledge following Q and recognizing Q, the Q movement, the Q team, they're just confused. And that's very purposeful. Like right now, one of the major things, like we see all of this, it's just one event after another, one event after another. If something doesn't work, then they try it. And we can go all the way back to, like I said before, Stormy Daniels and on, up until where now this the Black Lives Matter thing, uh, it's not about race, it's about the election. Everything, even the coronavirus, was put on us by the cabal very purposefully through China, which they control. Is to keep us isolated, as I shared before with the mask. Oh, and last video about the silent war last week when I did that, I think it was last Thursday, I was ecstatic that at the time of the recording the video that wearing masks pretty much where I live, the county, the city that I live, it was optional. And so I chose not to. And remember, I was sharing about the whole purpose of the mask wearing because Dr. Fauci absolutely said just a couple weeks ago, he said they're basically symbolic. The masks, they don't stop the coronavirus, either exhaling or inhaling. The coronavirus is small enough. If you have it, you can pass it, mask or not. And if you don't have it and you come in contact with somebody that does, you can get the virus, you can ingest the virus, mask or not. They're basically ineffective, but he said they're symbolic in the sense of showing our solidarity in this pandemic BS. Well, if it's optional, if it's symbolic, maybe I don't agree with your symbolism. So I chose not to wear it. Well, that same day, later after I made that recording and posted it, later on that day, come to find out that Governor Gavin Newsom here in California, he made a decree, executive order, whatever you want to call it, because we're in a state of emergency. Uh, he said statewide, masks are now mandatory in all public spaces. So I was like, dude. And, the reason he's given is BS. He's saying because there's more increased amount of cases, positive cases. Well, yeah, if you just do the math, if you do more tests, you're going to get more positive cases. But that just because it positive cases doesn't mean that people are going to the hospital and they're going to die. Because the science, the statistics show that the bulk of the people that succumb to the coronavirus and pass on are males 80 plus, 80 years old or more. Well, that's not the bulk of the population, but it's a matter of control. Like I said in the last video, they want us to voluntarily shut down our throat chakra. They want us to voluntarily muzzle ourselves so that we energetically can not bitch and moan and complain about anything that they do. And They're trying to institute uh, with this. They're pushing this second wave. By pushing this second wave, they keep us separated again. That's what that was all about. Keeping you locked up in your house, separated to where. And if you're out in public, mask with a mask, and you walk up to somebody, they automatically we're like a bunch of dogs. We're being trained to not like each other. We're being trained to stay apart from each other. We're being conditioned to stay separate and not get together. It's all very purposeful. It's just part of the art of war. Okay, divide and conquer. That's what they want to do. They want to divide us so they can conquer us. We're more controlled. They can win this quote. They think they can win this battle and not allow the planet to ascend. And with the planet not ascending, they stay in control. But that's not going to happen. It's a done deal. Uh, so that was the biggest thing that I wanted to share. Oh, and it's going to be a really bumpy summer. It's going to be, like I said, Federation of Light, they refer to as topsy-turvy. And we've got, and the ultimate goal is the election. It's not about the virus. It's not about anything, because they want a one world government, but they can't have the United States sticking out like a sore thumb and still have a one world government. That's what all the tearing down of all the statutes. They're trying to erase the identity of the United States. And then that way we will seamlessly fit into the rest of the world if we don't have our own national identity. And I'm sure they're doing it or have already done it to other countries around the world, but we're the last bastion that they got to take down. They take us down, United States down, then they're good to go. Well, it's not going to happen, and that's just a given. But down here in the trenches, it looks really bad, but it's not. It was again the 5D briefing I got last week. It's not nearly, it looks bad, but it's not. It's a done deal. Everything is on schedule. You have to show the people. We can't come in here because like us light workers, 99.9% of us incarnated through birth. We weren't walk-ins. So we didn't come down here like parachuting here like, uh, jackbooted stormtroopers and said, okay, this is the way that it is. We did it in organically, and we're going to do it from the inside out. We're basically ascending from the inside out. So we have to have at least the vast majority of the collective consciousness go with us. And all the accelerated energies that are coming on the planet, like I shared in the last meditation video with the golden dragon gate of the summer solstice, massive amount of energies are coming to the planet, and they're quickening everything. It's like adding heat to a boiling pot of water. That water gets agitated with that higher energy being increased, that increased energy, that pot of water boils and gets agitated. That's what's going on the planet right now. That's why everything looks so stupid, but it's so very purposeful, because in that boiling, all the garbage will rise to the top, and then it can be skimmed off. And what's left is the pure stuff, i.e. us. So, clear consciousness. So, those are some thoughts I just wanted to share that again, the silent war continues. Next piece of data that I get in regards to the silent war, because that's kind of like a lot of what I'm going to talk about, give you from the big story perspective what you're witnessing, because you're all witnessing it. And just to alleviate some confusion, share a higher, bigger perspective. This is I think the main thrust is what I'm feeling, that this phase of my video service is going to be about. So with that being said, yeah, please comment. Let me know about the lighting if I'm getting the lighting correct. So I don't want to be too washed out, but I don't want to be too dark. But I did change position to where I'm sitting in front of a window now, and this is just natural sunlight as opposed to the lights in the room. So anyway, love you all. Blessings on your journey. I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.